you're going to want to sit down with a cold drink for this one. Coffee, beer, whatever. We're looking at the Ford Superduty. Let's get into it. Ford Ranger Superduty is here and it's claiming numbers that normal sized trucks carry. 4.5 tonne towing, 4.5 tonne GVM, 2 tonne payload and 8 tonne GCM. It crushes almost all the other standard utes on the Australian market right now. Now, we all know that big American trucks have these sorts of numbers, but in this video I'm going to be comparing it to a Hilux, but also the older standard Ranger, so you can get a clear comparison of what this Super Duty is actually holding. We're going to break it down into power, towing, payload, off-road capability, daily usability, and also the price. And I'll tell you how each ute sort of adds up in those areas. Okay, so let's first look at our engine and our power and our drivetrain. So the Super Duty has got a 3-litre turbo diesel V6 engine, which might sound familiar because it's the same as also the standard Ranger that is on the market currently. If you look at a Toyota Hilux, you're looking at the 2.8-litre turbo diesel 4-cylinder, which everyone knows is a reliable engine anyways, but just slightly smaller numbers there. The difference is the Ranger produces 154 kilowatts of power and 600 newton meters of torque, whereas the Hilux only produces 150 kilowatts of power and 500 newton meters of torque. So there's a bit of difference there. Now the big difference with the Super Duty and the normal Ranger, it's got heavy duty axles and reinforced chassis, whereas the normal Ranger just has the standard ute chassis, axles and suspension. So the Super Duty, you know, it's got upgraded heavy duty upper and lower control arms, dash plates already on it, a 5-wheel dash plate underneath the fuel tank, and a few things like that, which just makes it a really, really positive upgrade. Okay, let's look at payload and towing. So as I said before, the Super Duty has 4.5 tonne brake towing, whereas the Hilux and the regular Ranger have just 3.5 tonne, which is pretty standardized these days. Just having that extra tonne really gives you so much flexibility in what van you want to buy. You can load up your normal size van, and I think it's a really great selling point for the Ranger Super Duty. Alright, so the next thing that I want to briefly touch on, and I haven't already mentioned this, but it is really important, is the GVM, the gross vehicle mass. And now this is something which is getting more and more popular these days as the government and the cops especially get tighter and tighter on vehicles' GVMs. And so the Super Duty has a 4.5 tonne GVM, which is massive. You only find it in American trucks. Comparing to the Hilux, you've either got 2.8 tonne or 3.1 tonne GVM. Often you need GVM upgrades. With the Super Duty, it's already got it built into the car from the factory. Your regular Ranger also has a 3.15 tonne GVM as well, so big upgrade for the regular Ranger. And just some quick numbers for you here. The GCM, the gross combination mass, so with the weight of what you're towing your car together, the gross combination mass for the Super Duty is 8 tonne, for your Hilux is 5.8 to 6.3, and for the regular Ranger 6.3 to 6.4. So also big upgrade on the Super Duty's part for the GCM. Okay, so let's have a look at its full drive features and how compatible it is off-road. Now, one of the things I love about the new Super Duty is the fact that it comes fitted with a snorkel from factory. That is just such a great thing, and I think it's useful for the off-roading side way more than obviously the tradie side. You don't need it being a tradie, but it's just one of those mods that you don't now have to do onto your full drive, unless you obviously want a Stano, but who really wants that anyways. But some of the facts, it's got 850mm wading, so basically driving through water what it's recommended to, which is reasonably deep. It also has front and rear diff lockers, which is huge, becoming obviously more and more popular on modern vehicles, but like for instance my D-Max doesn't have any diff lockers, so it'd be awesome. As I said before, it's got heavy duty underbody, bash plates, 4mm thick. It's also already got its 2-inch lift and upgraded suspension, and it's got about 300mm of clearance underneath the car. So some pretty good full driving stats, if you ask me. So then just quickly looking at the Hilux and the Ranger, you've only got 700mm weighting in those cars through water and an optional fitting of a snorkel. For the regular Ranger and the regular Hilux, you've only got a rear diff, not the front diff as well, and generally less underbody reinforcement or bash plates on those vehicles. And generally those normal utes have about 250 to 270mm of clearance, so an extra 30mm of clearance also under the Super Duty, which is awesome. So I probably wouldn't recommend the Super Duty if it was just going to be a daily driver, because you've got things like upgraded constant loads, which are going to be heavier and stiffer when driving if you don't have it loaded up like a tradie would or a full driver would as well. So if it's just going to be a daily driver, I would highly recommend just your normal stock standard ute if you need the tray space or different things like that. Okay, so let's talk about price. Now, I'm sure you've probably been waiting for this one. It might seem a little bit scary, but I think that it's worth the value. Now, your standard Hilux or Ranger, and we're going to talk dual cab full drive models, not your single cab two-wheel drives, come in around the 70,000 range. The Super Duty comes in at about 83,000 for just a cab chassis. So that's with no tray, no tub, nothing like that. And it's obviously going to be higher if you've got it with a tray or you've got it with a tub or an XLT. It's going to sit around that $90,000 mark, which seems quite high, but it's sitting on par with the 79 series, which obviously has a lot less features. Okay, so who is the Super Duty for? I mean, personally, I love it. I think this vehicle is exactly what the market needs. Anyone who's into full driving or is a tradie, and I'm both of those, and so I really like the Super Duty. I think it's a great vehicle. It fits the purposes of those needs really well. So on that, who is the Super Duty for? Well, if you're a tradie and you carry lots of tools and materials, 100%, I think this is a great vehicle. If you're a full driver and you especially have a tray and canopy, also I think this would be a great vehicle to have. You know, you might be carrying a rooftop tent or a small family and you have lots of gear. This is going to be the perfect vehicle for you, in my personal opinion. So basically, if you don't fit into one of those three categories, whether you're towing big vans or big loads, full driver or a tradie, I don't really feel like this vehicle would be for you. You could easily get away with your standard ute, and if you needed, you know, you could do a GVM upgrade or make it fit to your purposes. The other thing is as well, some people like myself actually quite enjoy modifying our vehicles, and so if you wanted a specific type of suspension or bash plates or long range fuel take, then you don't have those options anymore because it's already done for you. So, do you think the Super Duty is overkill, or do you think it's exactly what Australia needs right now? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for tuning into Bushbound. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.